What's up, Packer fans? Welcome to Titletown Talk. I'm your host, Ian Ewing. We're coming at you live on YouTube and all of your podcasting platforms. Today, we're going to do our first of a two-part series looking at the state of the offense and the state of the defense. Offense will be today. Next week will be defense. Basically, we're going to go position by position. Who's on the roster? What is their short and long-term outlook on the team? What kind of season can we expect in 2026? What does it look like in 2027? Do they need to add more depth? All of this stuff. I'm excited for this one. Hopefully I don't botch it too badly. The first thing we're going to do is look at the 2025 season. I think it's good to have a reference point. And again, today's offense, next week's defense. In 2025, the Packers had a plus 31 point differential, meaning they scored 31 more points than they gave up. So they were 10th in the NFL with that 31 plus point differential. So not bad. The traditional stats on offense, they were 15th in yards per game, 15th in rushing yards per game, 17th in passing yards per game, and overall they were 23 points a game, which was 16th in the NFL. So again, if you go by the traditional metrics, it is a middling offense, to say the least. But on this podcast, we are smart people, and if you guys are smart people, you will agree with me on this. We like to look at the advanced analytics. So what do the actual smart numbers say about this Packers offense? Well, they were 4th in the NFL in EPA per play, which is expected points added. If you guys don't know what that is, I kind of wrote out the definition here. If you guys don't know what it is, it measures how much a single play either increases or decreases a team's chances of winning, scoring, I guess. It bases itself on factors like down and distance, field position, all that stuff. Okay, so that's EPA per play. It is, my opinion, the best metric to determine if there's a good offense or a good defense, okay? So that being said, 4th in the NFL, not bad. They were 5th in the NFL in success rate, which is also very good. They were 2nd in the NFL in EPA per drop back. So they're top tier pass rushing efficiency. And then in DVOA, they were 6th overall. So again, the advanced analytics say this was a really good offense, okay? They were also the second best team in the NFL in converting third downs, which you guys listen to the podcast throughout the season last year, you heard me say this quite a bit. They were pretty good third down defense. They were a lot better on third and short than you expected. I actually didn't put the numbers down here, but when I was looking all this stuff up last night, I was like, they're a lot better on third and short than it appeared last year. They were not very good at running the ball on third and short, which we'll get into why that was later. PFF had them as their 8th best offense. They were number 2 in the NFL in passing offense with an 88 grade. The only team that was better was the Rams. And they were the 12th ranked rushing offense. But Josh Jacobs had an 85 grade last year, which was, I believe, 3rd in the NFL. Now, where they were stinking up the place on offense was their pass blocking unit. And we'll go into why in a second, but they were the 22nd ranked pass blocking unit. And, going back to EPA per play, they were bottom in the NFL when they were pressured. So, as you'd imagine, that's not very good. When Jordan was kept clean, though, they were the number 1 offense in the NFL in almost every category. And he was too, by the way. So, again, the reason I bring up all this offensive line stuff, and we'll get into it more in a second, we heard ad nauseum. We talked about it in this podcast. I heard it all over the internet. If you ever go to, like, the Instagram Packers pages, there's so much sewage in there. And there were so many people calling for Matt LaFleur's head in the middle of the season. They, stunk up the joint against the Eagles. They lost that Panthers game. That was like a really ugly stretch there, despite in the game before against the Steelers completely trouncing that defense, right? But the reason it was so bad was not because Matt LaFleur was a bad play caller, and I'm not saying he's perfect, right? But their pass blocking was the main reason why that was. So just to add to the offensive line talking point, that's why they weren't the best offense in the NFL. I wanted to go into why, though, and this is something I saw online that I thought was interesting. Here's where the Packers ranked in the percentage of snaps played together in the offensive line. So the percentage of the time that the same guys all played, the preferred starters, we'll just say, they were 30th in the NFL. Only 18% of the time last year did they play with the same guys. So look no further than this. They had so many different offensive line combinations. They had Jordan Morgan playing out of position at guard. Anthony Belton was a tackle that should have been a guard that didn't get to play guard until the Vikings game. There was just so much stuff that they did that just didn't make any sense. Darian Kinnard had to play real snaps. When they actually played good defensive lines like the Eagles, they couldn't stop him. They couldn't hold him back. Elton Jenkins, before he got hurt, was one of the worst centers in the NFL by almost every metric. So I'm just kind of, I want to take a quick side quest here. I'm just so over the Matt LaFleur thing. the whole he needs to hand over play calling. And, in the offseason, everybody wanted to bring in Mike McDaniel and make sure he didn't call plays. By no means am I saying LaFleur is perfect. And you've probably heard plenty of criticism from him, from myself, if you've been listening long enough. He deserves a lot of blame for the way the season ended. When it ends like it did, that Bears game where they lost the onside kick and they lost in the last seconds or whatever, horrible game. At some point, it does fall on the coach. I'm not saying that's not true, but during that stretch when they could not get a coherent offense together, that's why they had a rough patch. It was their offensive line. Your second best player on offense behind Jordan Love is Zach Tom. I don't think anybody listening to this with a brain, sorry if you don't agree, he's at least the second or third best player on the offense. He's the only elite offensive lineman that you have, and he missed half the season. And when he came back against Cleveland, by the way, he was fighting an abdominal injury. He had a literal abdominal tear, and he was playing through it. So, sorry, when you're literally blocking 300-pound men, and sorry, even some as good as Myles Garrett, and you have a bunk abdominal muscle, that's gonna impact you, right? So I just wanted to remind everyone as to why this was such a problem. The offensive line is the reason why they were not playing in the Super Bowl or even the NFC divisional game, frankly, and then health, which we won't get into today. So today we're going to go position by position. We're going to look at quarterback first, all the way through the offensive line. Like I said, we'll talk about what does this position look like in 2026? Is it going to be good or bad? And then what does it look like in 2027 and beyond? So we're going to start with quarterback. We already know who our quarterback is. We won't spend a ton of time on Pookie, Jordan Love, but I wanted to remind everyone he was a top 5 quarterback last year in probably every efficiency metric that we went through. He was the best quarterback in the NFL in EPA per play when he was kept clean. I can throw all the stats out there that you want. There's still just so many people who are not sold on him. And national media is starting to come around a little bit more on him. I think they're starting to realize he's a top 10 quarterback, right? It wasn't until I started this podcast that I realized how many people still don't get it with Jordan. And I can't think of any other reason than they look at traditional stats. I call it Madden brain. And that means people are box score scouting. They're looking at the box score and seeing, 178 yards and 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He must have played like shit. It's an archaic way of judging quarterback play. It's just like, now we have actual light bulbs. Back in the day, they used candlelight. It's no different than that. We still keep we still have candles. We still have traditional metrics. But when we have all these better metrics to use that actually point to what we're seeing on the field, we should be using those. Okay. So again, I think the Madden gangbuster stats, though, are going to be there at some point. They were in 2023, if you guys weren't sold on him. As good as he was last season, though, the 20th best offensive line in pass block win rate. Okay. So under way more duress than he'd ever been in his career to that point. There were receivers complaining about targets. We've heard this all through the offseason, right? His running back was hurt all season long, playing through it. His best receiver, which is Tucker Kraft, by the way, he missed half the season. Christian Watson was gone for the first chunk of the season. Jaden Reed missed a chunk of the season. I mean, again, there are going to be injuries on every team. I'm not trying to make excuses here. But realistically, when you have this many injuries to really, really important people, that's going to be a big freaking problem, okay? So I just want to be really clear. Jordan Love is really good, and we'll leave it at that. Let's look at the other quarterbacks on the roster, though. This insanely talented group of Desmond Ridder, Kyle McCord, and the rookie Kyron Drones. Let's start with Ridder. He was a third-round pick in 2023 by the Falcons, okay? Highly regarded coming out. If you guys remember, he took Cincinnati to their best season ever. When our boy Luke Fickell, the Badgers coach, was there, ironically. His rookie season, he actually beat the Packers. Not sure if you guys remember that. It was week 2 against the Falcons. The Packers just trounced Justin Fields and the Bears. Jordan Love's first start as an NFL starter. They're essentially beating the poop out of the Falcons in that game. And then Desmond Ridder takes him back and wins. So I do think he's got a little moxie there, right? He's got some mobility. He ran a 4.52 40, so he's got some speed. I don't think that really shows up on tape, although he did have a really long scramble against the Packers. Thanks, Joe Barry. He was picked in the 3rd round for a reason. His arm strength is a bit of a concern, and it showed up in the NFL too. He just doesn't have a very good arm. It's average at best. They brought him in last season at the end of the season. We kind of thought, this is for their emergency third quarterback. Well, they brought him in, they kept him, and they're rolling him over into this season. So he's somebody they clearly see as a potential backup. We'll see if he actually becomes that. Very smart. He's very poised in college. He brought a really bad program to winning. And I don't think they really won that much since he left, by the way. So if I had to bet money on it, at this point, with the cast of characters they have, he's probably Jordan's backup this season. I think he's the Malik Willis of 2026. But we'll see. I have another prediction here shortly. Kyle McCord, it was a 6th-round pick of the Eagles in 2025. He was in that really crowded quarterback room. Tanner McKee was in there. Obviously, Jalen Hurts was in there. I think the Eagles also had another quarterback, a veteran in there. I'm forgetting who it was. But he was kind of a perfect Packers type in last year's draft. If you look at the stuff they look at, height, weight, athleticism, he's got a good arm. So Zerline on NFL.com actually projected him as a 3rd-round to 4th-round guy, and he went in the 6th. So there's definitely something there, right? No real experience playing in the NFL, though. It'll be a battle between Desmond Ridder and Kyle McCord. I think McCord has a decent shot to beat him out, but we'll see. I think Desmond Ridder's legs between those two is going to kind of give him the advantage, but I do think McCord probably has a better arm. The UDFA signing from this year was Kyron Drones. The Drone Strike, if you guys have heard that nickname, I think it's pretty sick. He's definitely intriguing, especially out of all these guys. He's got the most talent out of all 3 of these guys, for sure. He's got a rocket arm. He's got a really good set of legs on him. The one thing that was really interesting about him, and I've heard others mention this too, but he is really, really athletic, and he does a lot of ad-libbing on his plays. If you watch him, that's why a lot of people compared him to Justin Fields, not just because he's number 1 and he's athletic. It's also because he has a really, really knack for getting really clutch plays out of him. So he's an interesting guy for sure. I heard Andy Herman on Pack-A-Day mention that he liked him more than Taylon Green. Hard to disagree. I didn't even know who Kyron Drones was. I knew who Taylon Green was. So it'll be interesting to see how this quarterback battle plays out in camp. He's probably the guy to watch. The question is, do they need to upgrade here? I think they do. If this is the group in camp, if this is who we go into camp with, I'm a little bit nervous. They were rumored to be poking around the veteran market a bit. Jimmy Garoppolo, perhaps. I think Garoppolo is considering retirement, so that would be unfortunate. I could also see a trade for like a Will Levis. And then the one that I want is Anthony Richardson from the Colts. If I had to guess right now, I think it's going to be Desmond Ridder. That's what I would bet on. But I have a feeling they're going to at least engage in trade talks for Richardson. They got all those draft picks next year. They were able to get Malik Willis for a 6th or 7th. I can't remember which. And that more than paid off. Richardson was the 4th overall pick in that draft. He is exactly the type of guy you bet on. If you can get him for a 5th-round pick, I guess, 4th, but not going for a 4th. 6th-round pick is what I would shoot for. Maybe a conditional 5th, where if he ends up playing a lot, that the Packers would give up a 5th. I don't know. We'll see. But the thing that's important to remember about Richardson is he's one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks I've ever seen. He can run, which I think any backup in Green Bay needs. We saw that with Willis. He has got an absolute howitzer of an arm. He's someone to keep an eye on. I think they're definitely going to do that. Sorry if you guys hear the noise outside too. If Jordan was done for the whole season, you're screwed anyway. Okay? That is a fact. But if he's hurt for 3 to 5 games, you want a guy who can come in and win you 2 or 3. And look at what Willis did back in 2024. Jordan was out for 2 games, and Malik Willis won both of them. And again, to you Matt LaFleur haters out there, Malik Willis was literally dog shit until he got behind Matt LaFleur and learned how to play quarterback a bit. So you want a guy who can do that. I do not think that Ridder, McCord, or Jones can do that, at least, or Drones, sorry. My verdict here, use one of your million draft picks next year. You trade for a guy like a Will Levis or an Anthony Richardson. Maybe you sign a veteran. This team is a Super Bowl contender. The last thing you want to do is screw yourself if Jordan's just hurt for a couple games. You want to be able to win those games, at least one of those games. So that's my verdict on this one. Trade for a backup. If you go into the camp with what we have, I'm a little bit nervous. Let's move on to running back. Running back's interesting. We got Josh Jacobs. He's got 2 more years on his deal this year and next year. Chris Brooks was signed to that 2-year deal. Marshawn Lloyd. Oh, Marshawn Lloyd, if you could just stay healthy. Damian Martinez and Pierre Strong Jr. Those are the running backs on the roster currently. And then they signed an undrafted free agent, Jaden Nixon, I think it was. We're not going to talk about him. Let's start with Jacobs. So you guys have been listening for a long time to this podcast. You know I've been sounding the alarm for a bit. Personally, I thought Josh Jacobs last season was his last season in Green Bay. I thought 2025 would be the final straw. But he did play well last year, and he didn't get any help from his offensive line. But we're starting to see it now. He's got a lot of miles on his legs. He played through a knee injury last year. He'd never really been hurt before, not for an extended period of time. And he did play through it, so you got to give him credit for that. But he's getting close to 30. It worries me. I think he would be 30 next season if they brought him back. It makes me nervous. I think seeing him fight through the injury was admirable, but I think someone else needs to step up behind him this year. There has to be another guy that emerges. That brings us to Marshawn Lloyd. By all accounts, they drafted him in 2024. He lit it up in training camp. Everybody that was there talked about it. They all said, yeah, he's the best running back in camp, blah, blah, blah. And then he basically sidelined his whole rookie season. Some of it was a soft tissue injury. I think there was some sort of freak show luck with that as well, like an appendix burst. Might be what it was? I'm not remembering for sure. Then last year, he's back to doing the same thing in camp and preseason. He plays against the Colts, if you guys remember, and he looked phenomenal. He had a couple really nice runs. He showed some zip up the middle. Then he had that little wheel route that he took up the sideline. It made an insane catch. And you're like, God, if this good dude could just stay healthy, right? He's the future running back if he's healthy. What I would do, I think he can at least tandem with a guy. If they draft a guy next spring, I think that's what's going to do it. But I think my ultimate prediction is we finally see a healthy Marshawn Lloyd this year. If he gets hurt again this year, it's just who he is. It's one of those guys who just didn't pan out. He had horrific luck, right? But my prediction is he stays healthy this season. That brings us to our friend Chris Brooks. They re-signed him to a cheap deal, 2 years, $10 million or something like that. 2 years, $5 million. I don't remember the number. He's a third down back. He can catch out the backfield. He's a great pass protector. He's not a feature guy. Okay, can he step in for a game or two? Absolutely. But they're not going to make big decisions on him. For example, they're not going to just say, "Oh, we got Chris Brooks, so we're not going to draft a guy high," or, "Hey, this person gets cut in training camp. No worries, we're good. We got Chris Brooks." The most interesting guy here is Damian Martinez. I did a deep dive last year on the running backs going into that draft, if you guys want to watch it. He's a guy I really liked. We talked about him in our running back preview last year, if you remember that. A lot of people saw him as potentially a third-round pick. It was a little high for me. He was picked in the 7th. Now, he had a 9 RAS last year. He ran a 4.51 at 216 pounds. He's 5'11", so he's a big dude, and he can run. He actually looks taller than that, too, by the way, if you guys have ever seen him. He looks taller than 5'11". I don't think he's going to be an RB1, right? But is he a guy who could potentially be a number 2? Or, in a game where the starter's down for a few games, could he step in and do well? I think he could. He's somebody I want you guys to keep an eye on in camp. He's number 26. He had a 94 PFF grade his senior year, which was 3rd in all of college football. He averaged 4.46 yards after contact, which is insane. That was 2nd overall in all the Power 4 schools. His breakaway speed is a concern with him. He's just not super fast, long speed. But people have been really good in the NFL without that, so I'm not saying he needs that. Pierre Strong, I'm not going to go into him too much, but he did run a 4.37 at the combine. He had a 9.3 RAS, so he's a little bit more athletic than Damian Martinez, but he's 27 years old, so that doesn't really help the long-term issue, okay? So 2026, what's the outlook for the running back position? Well, I like it this season. It all hinges on, can the offensive line be better? Obviously, if you guys are paying attention, you're noticing a theme here, the offensive line. Last year, Josh Jacobs was one of the best running backs in football from all the grading standpoint, from PFF. He just didn't get a lot of places to run, and he was hurt. He's getting older. I think a little bit of a fall off. We saw it last year. Some of it was the offensive line. Some of it was the injury. I think he's going to be fine. I think it'll be interesting to see, though, if he can stay healthy. Last year, he obviously fought injury the whole season. The ceiling on this running back room, though, it relies completely on if Marshawn Lloyd is healthy. Simple as that. If he can be what he was drafted to be, and Josh Jacobs can be, let's say, 80% of what he was in 2024, this can be a really good running back room. My prediction on this, I bet Marshawn Lloyd plays at least 12 games. I think we see what he can do. I think we're all going to get really excited about him. And he ends up being a feature guy next season. Just really quick side quest here on Lloyd. The 2024 draft was the first season I actually did draft prep. Now, I didn't have a podcast at the time, but I did a lot of deep diving on the draft. I thought that Marshawn Lloyd was like an early second-round type of guy. I felt the same way Daniel Jeremiah did in that draft, that he was the best running back in the class. Jonathan Brooks, the guy that got drafted by the Panthers, was probably a little bit better, but he had like broken his leg off or something like that the year before. And by the way, he still hasn't played. Regardless of Marshawn Lloyd, LaFleur and Goody have clearly shown us that they want multiple running backs. So in 2027 in that draft, they're 100% going to feature draft at least one running back. No question. Now, again, this year, one of the worst running back classes that I've ever seen. And everybody that's watched the draft this year, I mean, just go look at how many running backs were even drafted. It was like less than 10. So I'll put a final bow on it. Keep an eye on Martinez. I think Marshawn Lloyd's going to be healthy this season. And next year, they're going to draft a guy. So we'll see how that pans out. The main thing to watch, though, is can Josh Jacobs be healthy? And do we start seeing the age and mileage catch up to him? Wide receiver. I feel like we've talked about the receiver position a lot. Obviously, it's reasonable as to why. It's a very important position. It's also my favorite position on the team. It's what I played in high school. Mediocre play, by the way. Before we get into that position, where do they lose people? They lost Wicks and Dobbs. Okay? A lot of Packer fans are pissed about this. Dobbs, I don't really understand that much. Wicks, I do. You guys know I was a huge Dontavian Wicks stan. But it's clear, reading between the lines, they thought that the abundance of receivers caused problems. I think that's probably where LaFleur was talking about. Yeah, there were a lot of players upset with their role last year. I think it's the receiver room. I really do. It also explains why there was that really big surge in 2023 and then a little bit of a fall off the next 2 years. They just can't feed that many mouths ultimately. Now, do I think this receiver room is better than the last 2 seasons? I don't. I really don't. But I think the team will be better off, and I'll explain why. Jordan's not going to have any issue here. He's got plenty of weapons. Christian Watson, let's go through all the guys. He's going to get an extension before the season starts, probably. Maybe they wait to see if he can stay healthy for a few weeks. We'll see. But I think he's going to cross 1,000 yards this year. Had he stayed healthy last year, he would have. He would have been, I think it was 68 catches for 1,018 yards and 12 touchdowns or something. I did the extrapolation at one point. It was good. PFF had him in the top 12 receivers last year. At one point, he was in the top 8. He was explosive as hell, like he always was, coming off of a knee injury. But the main difference was the dude can run routes. He always looked a little bit robotic, predictable maybe in his route running. Never looked super laterally quick, despite the testing suggesting he is. He just looked way more complete last year, ultimately. A lot more contested catches. He had a lot more catches away from his body. I think he played up to his size. Frankly, he hadn't been up to that point, meaning like contested catches, he just didn't really hang on a lot of times. And he didn't use his 6'5" frame or whatever it is, right? So he's your number one. He's the guy we've been waiting for. He's the guy that we hear pundits talk about nonstop in the offseason. Ooh, who's the Pack? They don't really have a number one wide receiver. They do. It's Christian Watson. Then you have Matthew Golden. The discourse on him, from a national perspective and Packer fans, is the ultimate test to see if you have a clue or not. And I'm not trying to be rude or a dick to anyone that's watching this. If you watched him last year and you said, oh, he sucks, he's a bust or whatever, you just don't know what to look at. No offense. You're just wrong. He was top 5 in the NFL in separation score, and that stuff matters to me. Again, advanced metrics, analytics. The dude was open a lot. If you don't believe those scores, get NFL Pro, watch all 22, go watch every game he played in last year. He is open a lot. A lot. The problem is there just weren't enough plays where he was the first read. If you guys don't know how NFL passing games work, there's a progression. They have a play designed to go to the first read. If he's closed, he's not open, we go to the second read. If he's not open, we go to the third read. So you only have about 3 to 5 seconds to pass at times in the NFL. So can you always get to the third read? No. Matthew Golden was the third and fourth read in some of these plays. So if you're wondering, oh, he didn't have any catches. He caught a lot of the targets he got. Never dropped a pass last year. Show me a video of him dropping a ball. I think he had like one drop, but he never dropped a third down conversion, never dropped a fourth down conversion. In the playoff game when the Packers were coming back, Jordan Love hits him on the sideline route. Beautiful throw, beautiful catch. Who did he go to? It wasn't Dobbs. It wasn't Watson. It was Golden. He's going to be a special player. It starts this season. If you don't believe in him, if you sold your stock, I will gladly purchase it. I hope you all eat the egg on your face when we see how good he's going to be. I think most of you know he's going to be good, but if you're one of those people who thinks he sucks, you're an idiot. Jaden Reed just got the extension. If you guys didn't look at that yet, I was going to talk about this in detail, but time's gone on quite a bit. The Packers cooked on this one. They essentially added 3 years to his deal that was already in place. He already had 1 year remaining. Effectively, they gave him a 2-year, $38 million extension, so the next 2 seasons after that. So he's here at least 3 years. The 4th year is basically a team option. If they cut him, it doesn't hurt the team, but he's going to be like $15 million that year. So if you pick him up in year 4, so what is it, 2030 or whatever it is, he's going to be really cheap in comparison to his counterparts. So they did a good deal on that one. It's a heck of a top 3. You got to feel really good about this core group. I know the Packers do. Jaden Reed, when he was healthy last year, outside of that stupendous drop against the Bears, which I still just, it like hurts. I'm sure you guys all agree with that. I think he's going to take another step this year. If we remember the 2024 season, he was like top 5 in the NFL in receiving yards at one point. He kind of slowed down a little bit after that. I think maybe the sophomore slump hit him. But Jaden Reed's going to be really good. Then you have Savion Williams, and there's a lot of discourse over Savion as well. I keep hearing that, he's like Cordell Patterson. He's a gadget guy. There's some dude that I was reading an article on this, thinks he should be the running back this year. And these are all smart people. I'm not saying that they're dumb. And maybe he is a gadget guy. Maybe that's all he's ever going to be. But I watched enough Savion games to say that this dude has a high enough ceiling as a receiver. This year he's going to get real snaps, real targets. Just wait. He just has to improve his route running. He needs to consistently catch the ball. Not just the tough catches. He needs to make the easy catches, right? I think he can be a real player. He's your wide receiver 4. I think that's a really good wide receiver 4. I really do. If he'd got more targets last year, I think he would have if he didn't have the foot injury. He was still playing through a foot injury, by the way, and he still looked that good at times. That catch he had against the Giants on 3rd down, 3rd and 10, at that point, it saved their season. They hit that ball. Savion jumps up and catches it. Contested catch against the linebacker. Next play, Jordan hits Dobbs over the middle. Then the next play after that, he hits Christian Watson for the go-ahead touchdown. So that really did. If they didn't win that Giants game, they wouldn't have made the playoffs. Now, they should have won that Giants game 10 times over because they dropped 400 interceptions in that game that would have won it, but I digress. Savion's going to be really relied upon this year. I think that he's going to take a jump. I'm excited about Savion. If you're not, I understand it. I do. But go watch the early TCU tape. There's a player there. There's not a lot of humans in the world, that, especially in the NFL, that can move at his size like he can. He's very raw. I'm not saying he's going to lead the Packers in receiving this year, but there are way too many people, smart people, that are sleeping on him. So keep an eye on my guy, Savion Williams. Bo Melton, he was mentioned by name by Matt LaFleur that he's going to be a wide receiver this year. He's going to play a corner too, but he's essentially here to be a special teamer. He can definitely play wide receiver. Remember, he's really fast. He's ran a 4.34 or something like that. He's very fast. So don't sleep on Bo Melton either. Then you got Sky Moore, who was one of my favorite players in the 2022 draft. I think he's going to make the team. This isn't the Mecole Hardman deal. He's going to be your kick returner, punt returner, and that's fine with me. If some people get hurt and he needs to be your receiver 4, I think he's more than serviceable there. So I like Sky Moore. He's going to make the team as well. Sleepers to watch, Isaiah Nair, the receiver they drafted or picked up in UDFA last year, and then J. Michael Sturdivant, the UDFA from this year. I think they need one more big body in that receiver room to step up behind Savion and Christian Watson. They're the only two that are over 6 foot, 6'1". I don't even know. There's not a lot of big guys. Sturdivant's somebody I really like. Nair showed some juice last year in preseason and camp. Go look him up. If you haven't yet, he's the highest RAS in the draft last year at receiver. Not saying he's going to be a dude or anything, but could he sneak onto the roster? Maybe. Not a lot of guys move like him that's that big. He's somebody to keep an eye on for sure. Tight end. Tucker Kraft, by all accounts, was going to be a all-pro last year. Seems like he's having a great offseason. He's recovering from the knee injury. Sounds like he'll be ready for week 1. He's probably close to an extension as well. I wouldn't be shocked if they waited a little bit to give him an extension just to see if he's good after the injury. But again, he was on all-pro trajectory last year. Anyone with 2 working eyes could see that he was going to be very good last year. I think he's going to stay healthy this whole year, and if he does, he's going to be an all-pro. Just put it in chalk. Put it in ink, I should say. He was I think at the end of the season, he was still like 9th in the NFL in yards after catch, despite losing 10 games to injury. It's crazy. Then you got Luke Musgrave. Luke Musgrave. When they drafted him, guys, I was so stoked. I remember creating him on Madden and just having a ball with him. You know, a guy who can run that fast, it's that big. Showed some flashes last year, kind of just being that chess piece tight end. He's never going to be your tight end 1, but he's got a really particular set of skills. Taking reference. If he's used correctly, I think he can be valuable still. Now, valuable enough to get a new contract. That's where I'm a little iffy on that because he is a free agent after this year. The missing piece is that wide tight end that can block. If you guys follow me on Twitter, I posted, I think they were going to look at a tight end in free agency yet. Maybe you look at a David Njoku, maybe a Will Dissly, a couple other guys that I'm not super familiar with that are out there. Josiah DeGuara, why don't you bring him in, right? One of the worst picks that Goody ever made. Speaking of Goody, he was pretty honest after the draft. He actually said verbatim, we wish we could have gotten a wide tight end that could block. So that doesn't speak well to what they have in the room. I don't know, man. The one probably biggest surprise, I don't know how much I want to get into this, but if you guys noticed, there were a lot of blocking tight ends that were picked early in the draft. Guys I never even heard of, by the way. I didn't do any work on tight ends, really. I watched like 5 guys. The NFL overall is very interested in 3 tight end sets with blocking guys. They're in vogue. I think Matt wants one too. Josh Wiley is interesting. I think he's a little bit more versatile than Musgrave. He can block better. They also had him coming out of the backfield in that H-back role. Kind of strange. He's somebody to watch for sure. They kept him. They kept him on the roster last year. He actually played over Musgrave at times. Now, I always thought that Musgrave was a bad blocker, but if he could even just be like a okay blocker, it would do wonders for this offense. Because at this point, when he's on the field, it's kind of a tell that they're going to throw. That would be ideal if it wasn't a tell that they were going to throw. They do have the UDFA E.J. Maryland. He's someone to watch. I did a little bit of digging on him. Sounds like he did really well in 2024, and then he tore his ACL. And I heard about this knee brace that he wore. It was like a whole-ass leg brace that he played through last year. He did get healthy enough to test the combine, and he did very well. I don't think anyone else in the tight end room is very noteworthy, I guess. Outlook for 2026, I think I like this room in this season. But next year, I'm a bit concerned. I think they're going to have to find a blocking tight end early in the draft last year. Maybe they use one of their third-round picks on one. I'm a little concerned. That's all. If Luke Musgrave can all of a sudden be good, that would be massive. I wouldn't count on it, but it wouldn't shock me either. I'm kind of in the middle on it. But interesting for sure. It's something to watch. Lastly, let's wrap up with the offensive line, the position Ian is most ignorant at. We know the starting 5, Jordan Morgan. He's going to get his crack at left tackle finally. There's a world where, and keep an eye on this. There's a world where they move Zach Tom to left tackle. They play Jordan Morgan at right tackle. I thought Jordan Morgan looked pretty good at right tackle when he was there, from what I know. He had a couple of gaffes in the Bears game, but he did pretty well in that game. He did well against the Ravens as well. Personally, I think Zach will be fine either way. If they move him to left tackle, he's still going to be good. So keep an eye on that. They wanted Jordan Morgan to be the left tackle last season. That's one of the main things I took away from that Goody press conference after the season is, yeah, Jordan Morgan won the left tackle job, but then we had injuries. I think he was always a tackle. Moving him inside was a miscalculation. They should have been putting Belton at guard, not tackle, all along, but I digress. Goody, like I said, he went out of his way to say Jordan Morgan won the job in camp, and then he had to move to guard. And based on what we saw from Rasheed last year, and believe me, the NFL agreed, by the way. If anybody misses Rasheed Walker, go look at the contract he got from the Panthers. And then the Panthers drafted a left tackle. They already have a right tackle, so I don't know where the hell Jordan or Rasheed Walker's going to play, candidly. The bar is low, but I do think that Jordan Morgan can be a lot better than Rasheed Walker. Then you have Aaron Banks at left guard. Whew, he got a ton of shit last year. I didn't hold back either. They way overpaid for him, but there were a couple games where he looked really bad, yes. But down the stretch, he got a bit healthier, and he looked pretty good. Health is the interesting part with him. He's actually had a lot of injuries in the past, and last year was no different. But if you look at the PFF numbers and even the eye test, if you watch Andy Herman and listen to his grades, you can see it as well. He played a lot better at the end of the season last year. If he can just be fine, you're not going to set the world on fire, right? But if he can just be good, it'll be huge for this team. Like it or not, he's also going to be your left guard in 2027 because they touched his contract and moved a bunch of money around. So if they do cut him, he's going to be cap hell. So let's get used to it. Sean Ryan's going to be your center out of the gate. That's fine. He was totally fine last year at center. I think a whole offseason there, he's going to get a lot better. I think he can be solid there. He did sign a 3-year contract, yes, but it's very easy to get out of it after this season if he's bad. He does have the guard versatility. You can kick into guard if you need to. Speaking of guard, Anthony Belton's going to be your right guard. A lot of people are way down on him after last season. I'm no expert here, but all I can say is he went in at right guard in the Vikings game. And from that point on, the Packers offense looked much better. So I'm just telling you that. I'm not saying it's because of Belton, but he was better at right guard than Jordan Morgan was. And again, low bar, much better run blocker than people are giving him credit for, but pass blocking is a little concerning. By no means do I think he's going to be like great, but I think it's reasonable to say he could take a step this season and he could be solid. And him being good is very important to this offense. I cannot stress that enough. So if he's better, that's going to be really good. Zach Tom is partially torn patella tendon. Sounds like he's going to be fine for camp. Got to trust Goody at this point. I was very concerned when I read about the patella tendon thing, but it seems like he's okay. Ugh. I don't know how much I want to get into this. When you have Zach Tom missing as much time as he did last year, he's your only high-quality offensive lineman. It was a massive problem, and I don't think enough people are talking about it. He's one of the 7 best players on this team last year. It's no coincidence when he got hurt, the offensive line went to hell. When your best guy misses that kind of time, your offensive line is going to go to hell. So even when he was healthy, by the way, he wasn't really healthy. Okay. First off the bench is going to be Darian Kennard. He was fine last year. They re-signed him. Remember, they traded a 6th-round pick to the Eagles to get him. He's probably going to keep playing on those 6-0 line sets. I know they would love a tight end to go in there that can actually block, but we'll see. He can play right tackle, left guard, all positions except center. So he is a guy, I think, that very versatile. He's a good backup to have. Then there's the rookie, Jagger Burton. People who I trust think that he can push Anthony Belton for a guard spot. He could be the eventual replacement for Sean Ryan if he sucks. Something to keep an eye on. I'm here for it. If Burton can push one of these guys, I'd be stoked about it. I wouldn't count it out for sure. People that are as athletic as him just tend to pan out, frankly. Jacob Monk's going to be the backup center. He has played guard before, but he didn't look too good. He's a little bit undersized to play guard. Maybe he's put on some size. I'm not sure yet. I guess we'll find out. He did play well against Minnesota. I talked about that on our episode after that game. A lot of people are forgetting about him. I do think if he could take another step, that would be really, really big. So that's 8 guys. I think they probably keep 10. We'll see. Final 2 will be Travis Glover and John Williams. Those are my 2 predictions there. Glover was a 6th-rounder in 24, and John Williams was a 7th-rounder last year. John Williams was good value in round 7 by all accounts. A lot of people spoke highly of him. So did the Packers, by the way. He missed the whole season last year. He did come back and practice at the end of last season, which is interesting. Goody likes to hang on to his draft picks, which is why I think those 2 are going to win it. And if you remember, Glover was the guy first up in the Eagles game back in the playoffs a few years ago. I would love another veteran here in terms of what is the outlook for this season and beyond. I would love one more veteran here. There's a couple guys out there I like. There's Taylor Decker, Jack Conklin, Jonah Williams is out there too. There's a couple guys at guard too, Joel Bitonio, Mekhi Becton, Alex Kappa. We'll see. I think it's something to watch for sure. Keep an eye on Travis Glover. Keep an eye on Burton. Long-term outlook on the offensive line. They are comfortable with this group. They are confident in this group, whether we like it or not. I can't stress this enough. If they can just be a top 15, top 10 would be awesome. If they can just be that good this year, offensive line, this offense is going to be very special. Like I said, everybody blamed LaFleur last year. They blamed the janitor for the offense not being good. But the offensive line is the reason. I promise you guys that. If you take anything from this podcast, the offensive line wasn't good enough. And if they can be good this year, watch the hell out. I'm telling you. I think if they're going to stand pat with this group. I think they're still looking at vets, but next year they're going to add more depth to this offensive line for sure. But they got most of their guys past 2027, so it is interesting to see what this will look like. But Zach Tom's going to be here. Jordan Morgan's going to be here. Anthony Belton's going to be here. Aaron Banks probably has this year and next year. And then Sean Ryan's a we'll see. So they're definitely going to add people in the coming year for sure. To bring it all together, offense overall, if the offensive line can stay healthy, they can just improve from last year. This can be the best offense in the league, hands down. If Jordan takes another step, which I think he can and he will, the running game can just be a little bit better with better offensive line play. The receiver room, despite losing a couple guys, I think it's going to pay off. Golden, Reed, Watson, Kraft are going to be a lot more involved. There's going to be less rotations, which I think is huge. They just rotated guys so much just to get more targets, and I thought it was the detriment to the team sometimes. I feel really, really confident that this offense is going to be really good this year. Whether this defense is going to be great or not, without Jeff Hafley, it's going to be fine. I think it can be a top 10 unit for sure. This is a Super Bowl team. This offense is very, very good, and I think that all of us should be excited for the future of it, both this year and beyond. That's going to do it for today's episode, guys. Follow me on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter, Ian Ewing227 on Twitter. I like to post during the offseason. Like this YouTube video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. Anything you can do is massively helpful. If you want to listen to the audio, it's on all your podcasting platforms. Download the episode. It helps a lot. And I will see you guys next week for the State of the Team defensive preview. And I appreciate you guys watching and listening. In the meantime, go Pack Go.